Bye-bye. Hey, I'm Jay and I make videos about traditional Chinese characters in alphabetical order according to the Pinyin romanization system. Welcome back to Runner's Garden's What a Character series. Today's sound form is doon and doon, the most common of which has a lot of meanings and it's also a name. Doon is not a particularly prevalent name here in Taiwan. However, there are places in China with the surname Dun. Historical origins of Dun as a surname. The state of Dun, Dunguo, the most prominent origin of the surname, dates back to the West Zhou dynasty. A member of the royal Ji clan named Ruo was enfeoffed at Dun, located in modern-day Shangshui County, Henan Province, establishing the small vassal state of Dun. Side note, enfeoffed means that you can get some land in exchange for military protection of a larger state. Annexed by the state of Chu during the spring and autumn period, the descendants and citizens of the state adopted its name Dun as their surname to remember their homeland. Here it is in traditional and in simplified. There's a man surnamed Dun. His relatives have helped him apply for an American green card while still here in Taiwan. All the paperwork is done, and there's just one final interview up at AIT, American Institute in Taiwan. This guy doesn't speak a lick of English. He learned a little bit maybe in junior high, but he's really nervous. It's his turn to go in for his interview. The AIT officer says, look, we are really backlogged, and I'm just going to ask you this one question. If you get this question right, you're going to get your green card and your visa. You can go to the States. And Mr. Dun just kind of looked. He had no idea what the guy was telling him. The officer for AIT says, who was the first president of the United States? Mr. Dun was confused by the question, but he had to say something. He thought, this guy is probably just having to go over my paperwork one more time, and he might be just asking my name. Responds, 我姓 Dun. The officer got up, shook his hand, and said, Washington, that's right. Stamp, stamp, paperwork approved. 我姓 Dun. Washington. Today we have 5 characters, all pronounced dun or dun. No second or third tone. Start off with 4th tone. The surname we were just talking about. Dun means to pause or to stop.
他顿了一下，又接着往下说。他顿了一下，又接着往下说。
In calligraphy, to pause with the brush in order to reinforce the beginning or ending of a stroke. A third meaning to arrange or settle, an dun. An was one of the first characters we learned in our series. But you'll see this most often in a measure word for meals. 我今天吃3顿饭了. I ate 3 meals today. Or a measure word for frequency of reprimands. 我太太骂了我一顿. Translation, my wife gave me a good scolding. I know, she looks like an angel, right? Some other uses. To lay out, to kowtow. That means to put your head down on the ground as the ultimate sign of respect. To stamp one's foot, that's 蹲足. At once, immediately, kind of like 马上. Example, 顿时 can mean suddenly. Lastly, in transliteration, Eton College is 一顿公学. The character is made up of tun or zhun on the left and ye or xie on the right. The origin of the character tun in Chinese traces back to the oracle bone script over 3,000 years ago. It originally depicted a sprouting plant struggling to burst through the hard ground. This seemingly struggling sprout came to mean a difficulty or hardship, and then an extended meaning, a place where plants grow. And finally, a place where people gather. So a station, a village, a hamlet. For our character Dun, Tun is serving as our phonetic component because it rhymes. The right side Ye is an equally ancient pictograph. The modern standalone meaning of a page is only because it sounds exactly the same as the character for leaf. It came about as a kind of shorthand for the longer multi-stroked character. The original pictograph was an abnormally large head with legs, and then the middle part morphed into an eye, which represented a face or a head. The middle component of ye is mu, the eye. This ye component, meaning page or leaf or head, appears in a ton of characters in the dictionaries. And here is the doon that we were talking about, to pause, stamp foot, bow head, or suddenly. Let's not forget the measure word for food and reprimands. And look, they give you the stroke order of the doon. That's nice. With a mouth radical, that's ko, to the left, we get a first tone, doon, that is in English, or a metric tonne. That's what linguists would call a loan word. It sounds like tonne, doon. Character 3 today has 19 strokes, and it's the same in simplified. First tone, doon, is squat down, doon 下来. A deep squat, 深蹲. I am getting better at these. You've got to practice. This is a 蹲式马桶. Also carries the meaning of stay or remain.
他在实验室里一蹲就是好几个小时。他在实验室里一蹲就是好几个小时。
You wouldn't call this scientist a squatter, but I do find it interesting that the alternate meaning of squat and the alternate meaning of dun both mean to stay in one place for a long time. The character is made up of zu, the foot radical, and zun, respect. And zun is further broken down into qiu, that's yo, the wine vessel with 2 extra strokes on top, and tun, that's the inch, or it also means small. Looks like 2 hands, measuring something small. This first tone dun means honest and sincere, or to urge. 12 strokes, same in simplified. AI gave me some examples here, dun ho and dun mu. However, these are very literary. Dun qing, cordially and respectfully invite someone. This would be for VIPs, experts, or grand ceremonies. But I think the most common use is London, London. Interestingly, if you reverse those 2 characters, it's a literary expression for sexual intercourse of a married couple. The breakdown is a head radical plus a mouth plus an offspring radical. That's to over ko over zi. Next to pu, which is rap or tap. How can we remember this? Let's say the boy is heading to London. The father tells him with his mouth, "You are my son, and I love you." As the son is leaving, the father taps him on the shoulder and says, "Son, can I come with you?" With the fire radical to the left, dun, 4th tone. It is a stew. Braise over slow heat. Dun niu rou. Dun niu rou. Dun niu rou. Stewed beef. 4th tone, dun. Notice the metal or gold radical to the left. This means blunt or dull, like a knife that won't cut. 这把刀很钝. 这把刀很钝. It would be the same as saying 这把刀不利. This knife is not sharp. It also can be describing somebody who's a little bit slow-witted. Why is it not on the 3,000 most frequently used character list? Well, it has limited word-forming power. In other words, it doesn't appear in a lot of compounds in text. The raw frequency algorithm cuts it out. Anybody remember from your geometry days an obtuse angle, an angle that has more than 90 degrees? Dun jiao. Again, dun is the jin, metal or gold radical plus tun, which we had gone over earlier. There are shi tun and bei tun. Also, fourth tone, doon, literally means a shield. Dunpai is an actual physical shield, but doon also appears in a lot of company names that deal with protection, like anti-fraud or anti-theft. Combine it with the word for spear, and you have mao dun. A mao dun is a contradiction. Literally, spear versus shield. Mao dun.
你的父母是你最强的后盾。你的父母是你最强的后盾。
Your parents are your biggest backers. The top stroke and then sweeping down is chang. That's the workshop or factory radical. And inside that is shi, 10. That's basically a cross. Below that is mu, which is an I. During the seal script or clerical script era, what used to be a pictograph of basically a shield turned into this eye, and that's not by accident. You would see the eyes of a soldier just above his shield, looking out onto the battlefield. Shields for Roman, Greek, Chinese, medieval armies all across Europe all had perfectly round shields, like the iris or pupil of an eye, if that helps any. Meals, shields, squats, blunt knives, and stews. Which one do you think is the most difficult? Tell me in the comments. Look how low to the ground that is. Bye-bye. So I checked out another camping store looking for my 坐垫, and they told me something I did not know. They said camping stores are not selling these right now, but if I go to like a hardware store, have them in stock. So we're gonna do that. I think the reason is like there's no profit margin. Like, these things are like 49 NT. Like they're not gonna stock anything that they're really not gonna make any money on. These big hardware stores, they have bulk. Like they got so much stuff. I could get one from Shopee too. Time for me to go into work now. Gotta get in my car. Okay. 24 hours later. Yesterday, the ladies directed me to go here to like an all-purpose store. These are even cheaper than the ones on Shopee that are 49 NT. And this one I could actually, there was a sample that I could pick up and take a look at and see how much it could stretch out. You sit on, 39 NT. It's like $1. Well, I got one for myself and I got one for my friend's wife. They don't need it right now because they're just returning from Europe. More on that next time. But next time, I have no idea how many uses you can get out of this before it tears, because it may be flimsy. That cool taxi. So again, in Chinese, this is 坐垫. It's just a thing to sit on when you're camping, or hiking or trekking. If it's a little bit wet, like it is today, pop this on a rock and have a seat. Speaking of padded items, I just passed a dude wearing a very puffy vest in this heat. It's the second person in just a couple days that had a vest with fans on either side, and it's supposed to make the wearer cool. And then you have to put this heavy battery pack inside one of the pockets on the inside. I know this because the first person we saw with the vest, my wife and I asked, does it actually make you cooler? And she said, yeah, in the midday sun. I just would bet that I'm cooler than that guy I just saw. The guy literally looked like that. This looks fun. There's an awning and then a rooftop tent. Nice. 这个不是木头，也不是石头，但是我们要做做看。对，你可以折起来，你看，可以折起来。然后这是一个坐垫，比较好，因为比较硬。Yeah. 如果要比较大也可以，这样也可以放食物在上面，不错哦。You have been watching my What a Character series. The next video will be 的、u、o、多 in all 4 tones. Thanks for watching. Runner's Garden signing off.